Now at 10 and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, authorities in Goliad County are searching for 2 suspects to be involved in a frozen water bottle incident.
3 Americans free from Moscow in the largest U.S. and Russia prisoner exchange. This evening we hear from Paul Whelan, who was imprisoned in Russia for 5 years.
And a New Hampshire company has plans to strengthen the southern border.
Well, we're looking for hot and steamy weather for the weekend, but the big news, yes, we are strengthening the storm. This will likely become Tropical Storm Debbie and hit Florida over the weekend. We'll have the latest.
And 2 nights in a row, the Generals had their backs to the wall and came out on top twice. Play for it all tomorrow. That's in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia.
New at 10, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has overridden a plea agreement reached this week for the accused mastermind of the September 11th attacks and 2 other defendants, reinstating them as death penalty cases. The move comes 2 days after plea deals were reached with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 2 accused accomplices in the attacks. Austin wrote in an order that, quote, in light of the significance of the decision, unquote, he decided he had the authority to make a decision on accepting the plea agreements. He nullified the agreements. Day 5 of the Blake Downs trial started off with testimony from a DPS firearms investigator about the results of their findings regarding the murder weapon. 19-year-old Cohen Berm was shot and killed in April of 2022. It happened at a house in Port Lavaca on Holloman Road. Family members of Cohen attended the trial, which started Monday. The DPS testified they were not able to find any fingerprints on the gun or blood stains on the firearm. Studying the shell casing debris could not determine if it actually came from the murder weapon.
The state called more witnesses, all childhood friends of Blake Downs, all with these similar testimonies stating Downs threatened those in his friend group, some at gunpoint. Those incidents were because he was accused of cheating at poker. The trial continues Monday with a reconstruction expert. Now, over in Goliad County, authorities are looking for information on these 2 suspects. On July 19th, Goliad County deputies went on U.S. Highway 183 north after a report of suspects throwing objects at passing vehicles. Deputies found the front windshields of a truck tractor and Ford Expedition were damaged. Both drivers suffered facial injuries due to that flying glass. Earlier that night, 2 suspects bought 2 cases of bottled water in Goliad. They left the store in what appears to be a dark color Chevy sedan. If you have any information on this case, call the Goliad County Sheriff's Office at 361-645-3451.
Louise ISD's new superintendent is not new to Louise at all. The Louise ISD Board of Trustees Tuesday unanimously picked Richard Wright, currently the superintendent of Agua Dulce ISD, as the lone finalist for superintendent. Wright was principal at Louise High School from 1998 to 2002. The board's expected to vote on Wright's contract at a meeting scheduled after a 21-day waiting period. That is a state law.
Victoria County deputies arrested a 30-year-old man Thursday. Felix Rivera of Glen Heights faces 3 charges, including tampering with physical evidence with intent to impair. He remains in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of a $100,000 bond.
Let's take a first look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis. I guess the big question is, will we have more heat than dust this weekend, Mac, or just the opposite?
Yeah, I think we've got more heat than dust because we have more humidity, and the dust sort of, it ebbs and flows. But I'll tell you, the big story is Tropical Storm Debbie, which will be probably named tomorrow. Here are the coordinates for those of you tracking 21.4 north, 79.7 west. It's up to 30 miles an hour. It's right over Cuba. Once it gets out over the waters, it's going to make a beeline through pretty much the entire state of Florida is under the gun for tremendous rainfall. We'll have more on your forecast and look at your weekend forecast coming up in a moment.
Mac, thank you. And on Monday, the Commissioner's Court will hold a meeting at the Victoria County Courthouse. One of the focuses of the meeting is to consider approval of the 2024 budget amendments, including the Health Department expenditures. The meeting starts at 10 a.m.
3 American prisoners freed in the largest U.S.-Russia swap have arrived in San Antonio. They arrived at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio to receive medical evaluations, which is a standard procedure for freed international prisoners. Paul Whelan, one of the Americans freed, says he received a souvenir from President Biden when he arrived at Joint Andrews Base in Maryland. He said he didn't feel like his release was real until the plane flew over familiar territory.
It was nice. It was nice. You know, it didn't feel real until we were flying over England. I'm a British citizen, Irish citizen, Canadian, and American. So as we came over England and I looked down, you know, that's when it became real. We flew over Ireland, then Canada, and into America, and then I knew I was home. So getting off the plane, seeing the president, the vice president, that was nice. It was a good homecoming. So looking forward to seeing my family down here and just recuperating from 5 years, 7 months, and 5 days of just absolute nonsense by the Russian government.
Paul Whelan, Evan Gershkovich, and Alsu Kurmasheva are among 24 people freed from Russian imprisonment as part of the largest exchange between Washington and Moscow. Tomorrow will mark the 5th anniversary of one of the darkest days in El Paso history. On August 3, 2019, 21-year-old Patrick Crusius walked into the Cielo Vista Walmart and opened fire in a racially motivated attack. 23 people were killed and more than 20 others were injured in the massacre. Crusius pleaded guilty to federal charges and was sentenced to 90 consecutive life sentences. He is still facing state charges and could face the death penalty under state prosecution.
Protection down south is coming up from north.
Yeah, a company in New Hampshire is building blimps it says can help secure the southern border.
Altero says its aerostat has several advantages over models that are currently in operation. One is it only takes about a day to set up. Another, it's easily moved to where it is needed. Senator Maggie Hassan received a briefing on the technology while also seeing it deployed. Part of the aerostat's mission will be to prevent drones being used by drug traffickers to surveil the U.S. border. Altero says that its version costs about 50% less to operate than a typical system, thanks to software that allows the aerostat to function without a crew on the ground because of artificial intelligence.
Alteros has developed a autonomous control leveraging AI that allows the system to fly itself.
And what this kind of technology does is really, in an automated way, give our customs and protection agents much more visibility into what's going on the border with minimal need for additional personnel.
Right now, it can take up to 9 months to build the blimps, but the goal is to get that down to 5. But enough blimps are built now to deploy this tech by the end of this month. Friday, August 9th, next Friday, is the last day for brush pickup in Palacios after Hurricane Beryl. The pickup started July 21st. So far, close to 21,000 cubic yards of debris have been picked up in almost 2 weeks.
Chevron is leaving the Golden State. The oil giant announced it's transplanting its headquarters from California to Texas. Chevron has been centered in California for more than a century, since 2002. Its corporate offices in the Bay Area in San Ramon. Company officials say while some people will relocate over a few years' time, top leadership is expected to be in Houston by the end of the year. Chevron's move comes on the heels of Elon Musk saying his companies are also relocating to Texas from California.
The Victoria ISD Superintendent Search Community Survey is now open to the public at visd.net. The Victoria ISD is inviting community members to take part in public meetings to help select a new superintendent. Meetings start next Monday at Shields Elementary and Allo Elementary. 2 more meetings set for August 6th, that's next Tuesday, and 1 meeting on Monday, August 19th.
And Let's Grow Texas Ag Part 2 Calhoun County can be seen Saturday on KXTS at noon and on KVCT at 1:30. Let's Grow Texas Ag will be right here on KVU Sunday afternoon at 4:30.
Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. That way you can see Crossroads Today on
YouTube.
And we've got a lot of people who are getting on that YouTube,
Oh yeah,
on our YouTube.
boosting up that following there.
Yeah, they're listening to us. Thank you. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. TikTok faces new legal trouble as the Justice Department sues for reported violations of children's privacy laws, adding to its growing list of controversies.
Also ahead, Vice President Kamala Harris makes history following her nomination announcement by the DNC. Here's a look at Community Crossroads this weekend. We first sit down with Victoria College for their Super Saturday Back to School event, followed by the Nazareth Academy and the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent. We also touch base with Pam Health on lung cancer awareness.
Having exposures that are just environmental, so it could be, believe it or not, bakers and military folks, not necessarily the traditional folks that have been spending their life, much of their life smoking.
TikTok is in trouble again. The Justice Department is suing the Chinese-owned social media company. It says TikTok allowed children to create accounts without their parents' consent. That's a violation of the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. The lawsuit further says parent company ByteDance did not remove those children's information when requested by their parents. The lawsuit marks the latest headache for TikTok, which has come under fire for collecting private data from its users and its foreign ownership. So here is your viewer poll tonight. You can scan that QR code right there on your screen to vote. The question is, would you support banning TikTok if it violated children's privacy rights? According to our results tonight, it looks like 94% stand at yes and the remaining 6% stand at no. Thank you for voting tonight.
Former President Donald Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, turns 40 today. He's just about half of Trump's age, meaning he could become the future of the MAGA movement.
And even though he was announced as Trump's pick a few weeks ago, Vance is still working to introduce himself to America, attempting to put an uneven rollout in the rearview mirror.
Since it was announced that former President Donald Trump had selected Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate, Vance has spent most of his time on defense.
Obviously, it was a sarcastic comment. I've got nothing against cats.
He's responding to several clips that resurfaced where he criticized politicians who don't have children and suggested people with kids should have more voting power than those who don't.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies.
Privately, Trump's campaign acknowledges this isn't the entrance it envisioned for Vance when the former president tapped the freshman senator as an heir to his political movement.
You can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think J.D. is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president.
Vance is the first newly announced VP nominee in decades to have a negative net favorability coming out of a party convention, and that rating has continued to drop. Trump did not answer directly when pushed about whether his running mate would be ready on day one to step in as president if needed.
Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact.
When Vance was asked about Trump downplaying the role of the vice presidency, he shrugged off Trump's comments, adding that most people will vote based on the top of the ticket. Reporting in Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Vice President Kamala Harris has won enough votes from Democrat delegates to win the party's nomination for president. The DNC chair made the official announcement today. That means Harris will be the first black woman and first Asian American to lead a major party ticket. The announcement came during a virtual event with supporters. Delegates began casting virtual ballots for the nomination Thursday. That's a process that will continue until Monday evening. Harris reacted to the news saying she is honored to be the presumptive Democrat nominee. An alarming new study shows that pediatric death rates are higher in the U.S.
That's in comparison to other countries.
A new study published in JAMA Pediatrics shows that U.S. death rates for children are higher than rates in many comparable countries over the last 20 years. The researchers also showed that every year, more than 16,000 U.S. children died above what is expected based on data from other countries. Half of those deaths were in children under 1. Many infant deaths are the consequences of birth defects, low birth weight, and prematurity. For people who are pregnant or planning on becoming pregnant, remember to take a prenatal vitamin with folic acid. Folic acid is critical for preventing spine-related birth defects. If you are pregnant, you should avoid alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, and other substances. These have all been linked with prematurity and low birth weight. Finally, pregnant people should see their provider regularly and complete all relevant blood work and ultrasounds. With this Medical Minute, I'm Christiane Cordero.
State records show oil field electric lines were blamed for the 2 devastating February wildfires that burned in February. And no state agency claimed responsibility for making sure those lines were built safely. You can read this Texas Tribune article on our website, crossroadstoday.com.
Warriors Weekend will honor American heroes wounded in action in a Purple Heart ceremony. It takes place at the Field of Honor next Wednesday, August 7th at 6:30 p.m. August 7th is also National Purple Heart Day.
We are looking at a current temperature of 82 degrees. It feels still like it's 90, but it was a fairly nice afternoon. Did you see the big thunder showers that popped up? They lasted maybe 10 minutes, but that was it. No big deal. 98 was our high, okay, and that's one of the reasons we popped those showers. Tomorrow, another 90-degree day, and so we'll be talking about that and taking a look at the tropical storm in Florida. All that in a moment. Well, good evening, everybody. For those of you that have outdoor plans, you're going to have a great weekend. I guarantee it. Only problem is it's going to be very hot. Now, today we topped out at 111 on the heat index. Remember, that's the temperature and the humidity give you the heat index. And tomorrow we're topping out at 110. So what I'm saying, if you're going to be outdoors working, take it easy, because if you start perspiring and perspiring and perspiring and it doesn't stop, you could be getting a little bit of a heat stroke. So we've done this before. You're going to be fine. There was a little line of sea breeze showers that popped up late this afternoon. It's kind of fun to watch them just sort of move through the city. Didn't get much here at on Navarro, but we saw the showers on the south end of the city. Texas is going to be very quiet for about 7 days as we are under the dome of high pressure, which is giving us the summer-like temperatures. It's also keeping us away from all this stormy weather. In the East Coast, we've got heat advisories up for tomorrow. Many areas to the northeast of us, but you can pretty well assure yourself that it's going to be hot and steamy with the hot afternoon, but the evening I think will be fairly nice. Well, of course, the big story is that number 4 continues developing. It's now a tropical depression. It's right over Cuba. That's why it's had a tough time organizing today, but by tomorrow, it's going to be out over the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. It'll be going right over the Gulf Loop across the Keys. And already they've got all kinds of warnings and advisories up the coast of western Florida. As a matter of fact, in this map, I can show you that right about here, Tampa Bay, well below, down south, all the way up, they've got significant storm surge warnings, and they're telling me these are life-threatening storm surges as the ocean water is going to come on land, so you don't want to be in low spots. The dark blue is the hurricane tropical storm warning. There are no hurricane warnings because there's no major wind. Wind is topping out at about 40-45 miles an hour. It's the rain that's going to be a problem as the storm winds up, goes across the Florida Keys, drops tremendous rainfall, probably in the 10 to 15 inch range, and then it crosses the peninsula, weakens, then regenerates once it's over South Carolina. So this may be also a storm that slams South Carolina later on. But the dome is what's keeping us on the sunny and hot stuff and also keeping that away. As the dome backed up, it allows the system to start moving in. And as we get into probably maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, the dome is going to make sure that it stays on that side and continues going out into the mid-Atlantic. So the dome, you can thank it or you can curse it, whatever you want to do. It's just bringing us the hot stuff and keeping us away from that. Now, for tomorrow, looking for lots of sunshine. You're looking at a high temperature of 94 out along the coast, and that means that along Port Lavaca, it's going to be good for fishing, I'll tell you. Very sunny, very low winds, so you're going to be out there in the boat, shouldn't have a problem. 96 in Cueros, so, you know, get your cowboy hat. For the short term and the long term, there's no big changes for us. We're stuck in low gear here with high temperatures well into the mid-90s. Heat index is going to be a problem all the way through, but that's just during the peak heating hours in the afternoon. Other than that, have a great weekend. That's your 7-day forecast. Reminding everybody we do have QR code. We'd love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. And here's Zach Brown with sports.
Thank you, Meg. Championship season here in Victoria. The Generals with a chance to win it all. That's in sports. With a packed house at Riverside Stadium last night, the Generals trying to advance to the TCL championship game, and after a scoreless top half of the first inning, the home squad got on the board with a 2 spot in the bottom half. Those runs alone would have been enough because they got fantastic pitching out of Connor Kelly, who went 6 hitless. Brazos Valley got their lone run in the 8th inning, but it was too little, too late. Generals win 6-1, winning 2 games they had to have.
Nights in a row, our backs have been against the wall, and it's win or go home. And you know, you find out the true colors of your players at that moment. And we came out both nights and jumped to early leads and kept putting it on. And all the credit in the world to our guys for coming in and day out and putting the work in. Game 2, we put up a 7 spot in the 3rd inning, which felt really good. And they battled back each time we put up runs. They scored 2 or 3 to return it. And so we had to stay focused the whole time. And then
the TCL championship game is tomorrow at 7:05. The gates open up at 6, and it is free ticket night to watch the Generals try and conquer the TCL. Leading us to your viewer poll, are you going to the TCL championship game, yes or no? Only 75% of you, or 75% of you guys say no. I don't think that those numbers are indicative of how many people are actually going to be there. Last night, well over 1,000 people were there. I had to park all the way by the duck pond just to find any parking. It's going to be packed tomorrow as the Generals look to bring it home to Victoria. Now, in that same stadium, it's also home to the Victoria East Titans, who had a few players recognized by the Texas Sports Writers, making the 3rd team for All-State. Star outfielder Ryan Steele, star pitcher Gage Goldman, who was also lights out on the mound for the East Side all year. He is an honorable mention pitcher, and his catcher Kason Coley is also an honorable mention. Ryan Steele and Coley will be returning next year, trying to make an even deeper push into the state playoffs. Football season is officially here. On Monday, many area teams open up practices, and the NFL had their first game of the season last night with the Hall of Fame game, putting a spotlight on the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears. While the Bears did win 21-17, it was a weather-shortened game that did not even see C.J. Stroud, the #1 overall pick, and Caleb Williams touch the field. The game, though, an opportunity to recognize some of the greatest to ever walk the gridiron, and one of those players is the first Houston Texan to be permanently enshrined in Canton. Andre Johnson, who was drafted by the Texans back in 2003, where he played for 12 years. Andre Johnson was a 7-time Pro Bowler and ranks 11th all-time in career receptions with 1,062. He also ranks 11th all-time in receiving yards. That is it for your sports. Donna Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Zach, and stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10, we're going to take a last look at your weather, plus how a 9-year-old danced her way onto the stage with Taylor Swift.
Southeast Iowa man now holds the world record for the largest eggplant. Wow. The Iowa Department of Agriculture reported that Dave Bennett from Bloomfield set the record with this eggplant weighing 8.33 pounds. The dark purple fruit measures 28 inches around its center and 32 inches lengthwide. The Iowa Weights and Measures Bureau verified the record Wednesday, ensuring all measurements were accurate.
In an extraordinary moment for a 9-year-old fan, Lucia Hugelmeyer from North Carolina lived out her dream at a Taylor Swift concert in Germany. And she had a blast, and she actually caught the attention of Taylor Swift's team, and they brought her on stage, and she had the night of her life. What a story for the Swifties tonight.
She got on stage.
Look at her having fun.
Awesome. Are you ready for it? She was.
Oh, that's cute.
Hey, we have 5 locations where our hurricane tracking guide can be picked up. Go to crossroadstoday.com, click on weather, and then click on Hurricane Tracker, and you'll see it on your right below Storm Prep 2024. And this weekend might be good to use it as they track what probably will become a tropical storm Debbie and just really attacking Florida.
You bet. By tomorrow, I think it'll be Debbie, and you can track it on your little map here. You can go by Victoria All Sports is one of our sponsors, and we appreciate them convening with us on this. So it's Florida, Florida. That's the big story for the weekend. They're going to get deluged with 15 and maybe even 20 inches of rain. So for us, we're on the high side and dry side. We're going to be very warm, about 96 tomorrow. That should put your heat index at 110, and that's when, you know, you really have to take it easy during the peak afternoon hours. The evenings are going to be very nice. Your sundowns are going to be very nice too, but looking for hot daytime highs all the way through the next 7 days.
Mac, thank you. And finally tonight, with summer heat at full tilt, it's time to cool off with a summer picnic staple. Saturday is National Watermelon Day, which comes around every August 3rd. Some fun facts about watermelons. Are they grilling that?
Grilling watermelon.
Okay, that's not a fun fact.
The
Anyway,
vegans actually grill them and eat them as steak. Some vegans do that.
Really?
Yeah, it's a thing.
They want to be us so bad.
well, they are about 90% water and come in an estimated 1,200 varieties. Go ahead and pick up one at the grocery store, local farmer's market, they're good there, or visit a pick-your-own watermelon patch. Cut it up into wedges or make a fruit salad. Now, my dad, God rest his soul, would always eat watermelon after he would sprinkle a whole bunch of salt on it.
Yep.
I would tell that to people, and thinking that my dad was like the only person in the world to ever do it. And they said, no, we like it that way too.
My mother-in-law does.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
Yeah, I do it with tahini myself. So
With tahini,
I get it. Yeah. Alrighty, well, thank you for joining us tonight.
And join us this weekend, 25 News Now on our